It's really been an interesting 2022 so far at Georgia because one of the things that the Dogs were going to lean on coming into this season was a run game that was going to be propelled by an offensive line that's really been around for a while. What we've seen too, though, is that Georgia's not got just one running back, and that's something that has been is good. I don't know about and bad, but it's definitely a solid thing. I think the question I'm posing right now is who's Georgia's most productive back right now? We've seen all four of Georgia's backs have been pretty durable. They've played in all of the 28 appearances they could play so far, four guys, 7 games. They played in 26 of them. So Kendall Milton missed the Vanderbilt game. Branson Robinson didn't play in a game. I don't know. I don't know that that was necessarily an injury thing. I don't recall that. I guess I feel like that. He didn't get a carry against Missouri. So, um, anyway, individually speaking, here's how it comes down for the Dogs. Just in terms of total net yardage, their number one guy right now is Deshaun Edwards, 334 yards net. He's averaging a little bit more than 5.5 per carry. He's got 5 touchdowns, which also um, leads the team along with Stetson Bennett on the ground. Kendall Milton is the number two back in terms of net. The difference with Kendall is he did not play against Vanderbilt. He is Georgia's best rushing by average at 6.2 per carry. People are going to get on to him about the lost fumble against Missouri. It did feel like that could have made that first half different, but I mean, you're going to have, I mean, fumbles happen. So, what we'll see here from the at the end of the season for Kendall will be very important. It seems like to me. McIntosh has played in all 7 games. He's at 242 yards of total um, work on the ground. I think the difference with Kenny, and I'm going to point this out right now, is that a lot of what Kenny does is in the passing game. He's got 270 yards, and I can assure you that is by far the most yardage of any running back for Georgia. So uh, the production from Kenny is not insignificant. And then Branson Robinson with 199 yards total, 1 touchdown, 5.9 per carry. You're hearing about it. Georgia's been very productive on the ground. A little different than last season, but they've been very productive on the ground. I have not seen the explosion from from Kenny McIntosh like I thought we might see. I knew he wasn't quite the weapon that James Cook is, but I still think it's incomplete right now. If you want to pick up DAWGSTRUCTION, grab it today. The link is down below. We still have some shirts that are available for those of you who order quickly. So take advantage of that. Make sure you're ordering and emailing me, dean@dogpost.com. The link is right down below. It's a great Christmas and holiday gift. Um, we don't. I think the part of what's going on here is the season. This Georgia season, we've only really entered it. Whereas a year ago, a lot of Georgia's season was at the beginning. Think about the game with Clemson right off the bat, the fight with Arkansas, top 10 game, Auburn game. That was a ranked Auburn on the road, and then Kentucky, a near top 10 matchup at Sanford Stadium. They nearly played. Well, they did play two top 10 matchups, top 11 matchups in 3 weeks. They played three ranked games in a row in that time. So that run of games, along with the Clemson game to start the season, that was ranked games against Clemson. Uh, I don't think South Carolina was ranked. Clemson, Arkansas, Auburn, and Kentucky. In your first 6 games, 7 games, you played four ranked teams. So it's not been that way this season for Georgia. And you notice the end for the Dogs not nearly as challenging as the end will be this year. So we'll see if Georgia has the same type of total year, and it's going to matter what these running backs do. Period. If you're not taking advantage of how good this offensive line is, um, I don't really know what to say. There's really been no. I'm trying to think of a game specifically where Georgia just really didn't play well running the ball. Um, you know, I'm just trying to think. They've had y'all at least 100. Again, the Samford game, that game didn't go the whole fourth quarter. It was a running clock, that was the lowest rushing total of the season at 127. In league play, Georgia has not had fewer than 169 yards rushing. 132 against Oregon, 127 against Samford, 208 against the Cox, 257 against Kent. 169 against Mizzou, which is one of the better defenses in the country. I know that's shocking to hear. Almost 300 against Auburn, and then almost 200 against Vandy. I mean, to me, the run game is coming into its own. If it hadn't already done that, I mean, the first two games, you got to look at it again. They didn't play the full Samford game. 150 yards. They didn't get that on the ground in the first two games. From that point in the season forward, they've not failed to get 150 yards on the ground. You look at the receiving. You know, do you have to go for 150 on the ground when you're going for 430 through the air? Maybe not. That's what they did against Oregon. 350 against Samford, 340 against Carolina, 272 against Kent State, um, 312 against Mizzou, 208 against Auburn, 387 against Vanderbilt. These numbers, it's just, it's just more and more and more and more. It's constant. The the way Georgia has been constant with production. And when you look at these four running backs, to somewhat answer the question, I think Edwards is your most productive back when he's asked to go for it, which is usually, not always. He is most productive in the third and fourth quarter. Stop me if you think a Georgia quarter. You've heard that before about Georgia running backs. They're making people tired, y'all. And I've not done a deep dive into Tennessee yet, but in the first half against Alabama, they had a they Tennessee was stretching them on the edge. They were getting it was there. And they really, I mean, God, this is crazy to say. Alabama really has one running back. Um, but the line, I think, the other thing too about Georgia's run game right now is you're talking about a game, excuse me, you're talking about a team that's dealing with a run game where the offensive line is playing a lot of players. Um, I see Xavier Truss out there. I also see Mims out there. I see Broderick out there, and I'll see Cedric Van Pran out there. Now, these guys don't all play the same position, but that Mims is playing as much as he is means that McClendon isn't, or Broderick Jones is not. Someone's not playing tons of downs. And so have they settled into it? In the national championship game against Alabama, it took Georgia a little bit of time to get going. But once they settled in on the offensive line, now they took Warren Erickson out. They might be put Warren Erickson back in. This is the first touchdown that Georgia scored in the national championship game against Alabama, and it was with a minute to go in the third quarter. Is that right? I think it was. It was just a total field goal kicking competition from Jack Palesny and company. Uh, yeah, I mean it was nothing but Georgia took the lead 13-12 at that point. The first touchdown of the game came late in the game. Y'all forget how much of a struggle that game was in terms of getting done what you wanted to get done. And now I'm going to get to my point here to some degree, which is that this run game is going to be judged on how it does coming down the stretch in the third and fourth quarters. I, to some degree, wonder about um, if we've not seen the best from Georgia's run game yet, because even though it's been as good as it's been, I wonder if we've not seen the best from it because you usually don't see the best of it until the third and fourth quarter of games. And, people will remember the Georgia season by what happens in these last few games. Georgia had 140 yards run against Alabama in the national championship game. And I would tell you that the majority of that 140 came from James Cook's run in the third on. So the last 16 minutes of that game, Alabama was tired. And is that what Georgia's going to do to the Gators? Can they do that to Kentucky? How about the Vols? Is that what Georgia can do? And I think the answer to that is yes. But the guys I mentioned before have been pretty steady. Again, there's been 28 appearances that they've had the ability to go out there and get. And they played in 26 of them. We're talking about running backs in the SEC. We're halfway through the season. Guys are going to get banged up. That's just what it is. And right now, we saw where Kendall Milton has been banged up. Kenny McIntosh has been banged up. But they have basically played all the time. I think right now, the answer to the question is it partly depends what you want. Do you want a slicer with a guy with the ability to go out and catch the ball? Well, that's Kenny. Do you want a closer? To me, that's Edwards. Do you want a guy that's just going to pound it? That's Kendall Milton. you know. And then we saw Branson Robinson looks like he could be a closer too. He looked really good against Auburn. It was something else. Make sure you're taking advantage of our DoorDash offer. I know it's the weekend, limited time. Listeners, our viewers can get 50% off, $20 value, zero delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app. It's right down below. The code is DAWG. Don't forget the code. It's 50% off of something that's $20 or fewer, and you don't have delivery fee. Just download the app. It's right down below. No delivery fees with DoorDash when you use our code DAWG. I like where Georgia's going, which is to say that the production in the recent past has been hard to deny just offensively. You'd like to score more touchdowns, but offensively, it's hard to argue that Georgia's not been productive in the run game when they have not finished a game in the SEC with fewer than 160 yards rushing. And coming up against the defenses they're coming up against. I mean, Tennessee ain't great defensively. They're okay. Florida ain't great defensively. They're not. And I need to look more at State, watch State. I really am actually. This sounds stupid. I'm looking forward to watching them play Alabama this week. But Georgia ran on Kentucky last year. It was just tough. They're going to need these backs. These backs are going to have to produce. You tell me who you think the best running back at Georgia is. Thanks for watching.